Hey Steve, what's going on? This is the almighty WWE champion. Hey man, I heard you had this new YouTube channel, Hill Stevens. I just want to give you a shout out. I'm going to go check it out. And I think everybody else needs to make sure to tune into Around the Point because we've been contracted. And if you don't tune in, you're going to get some business from the Herb business.
What's happening, people? It's Monday. It is Monday. It is May 24th, 2021. It is 7:45 in the morning as I'm doing this right now, by the way. I have work in literally an hour with change, but fuck it, here I am anyway, doing this real quick, giving you my thoughts on the A&E biography from last night on The Ultimate Warrior that aired on A&E. And a fun little fact, I didn't watch it live like everyone else did. I was busy doing stuff, but I caught the replay of it. Let's be honest here, okay? Let's get this out of the way. I have not watched or followed up on these A&E biographies that they've been doing. I know they're also doing like a treasure show as well. I don't have time to watch these shows like that. I just don't. Just based on how my schedule is right now. But I did manage to see the Ultimate Warrior one. I was at home on a typical Sunday. Thinking about it, I should have done Around the Point last night instead of Friday. But anyway, it is what it is. Speaking of Around the Point real quick, I want to get this out of the way. This Friday, we are going live on YouTube and on Twitch for our AEW Double or Nothing predictions. We'll be joined by arguably one of my favorite content creators right now, up and coming in the wrestling community, the one, the only SP3 over from True Heel Heats. I look forward to that this coming Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Twitch. We're going to be taking your live calls and a lot of fun stuff. So make sure you join us for that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're on watching this right now. And also you follow us over on Twitch, over on twitch.tv/aroundthepoint. Anyway, got that out of the way. Let's talk about the Ultimate Warrior biography or documentary, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that they did over on A&E last night. Let's be honest, and I know they're doing a lot of legends too, but let's be real about it. You watch one documentary or biography on a certain legend, you've seen them all. Now, this one in particular is kind of special, kind of different in a way, because WWE and an A&E cooperation, whatever the fuck you want to call it, did a biography on the Ultimate Warrior literally last night that aired, right? And on the same week, on Thursday, Dark Side of the Ring are doing a special on the Ultimate Warrior on Vice. Now, you know for a fact, going into this, right, you knew that, they're going to be two different type of documentaries. So you want to see what the WWE in cooperation with A&E are going to be saying versus what will be said on Dark Side of the Ring coming Thursday. Put it this way, on Thursday's episode, they're interviewing Warrior's first wife, which it's funny because they acknowledged in the 80 documentary that in 91, he was going through a divorce. So we're going to see on Dark Side of the Ring the wife that divorced him, I guess, in 91 and hear her point of view, her side of the story, and a lot of fun stuff, which will be very interesting. But that being said, I did watch this, like I mentioned, for the umpteenth time, and I got to say overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the documentary. They talked about his early childhood, how he didn't really have a male role model in his life, or a male figure, a father figure, if you will, to guide him and show him the way and straighten him out, if you will. And all he ever wanted was to be accepted, be, I guess, remembered, if you will, or something like that. Especially in high school, like he tried out for football, but he was small. And he started working out and pumping iron. Well, I think one of his teammates, who is now, I guess, a coach or something like that. And he got into bodybuilding. He wanted to become a professional bodybuilder. Right at the time in that time period, bodybuilding was becoming a thing. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the fucking, dream or goals for every bodybuilder in that time period, right? Gold's Gym was this place to go to if you really wanted to get into bodybuilding, especially in California. So it's funny because in the documentary itself, he said that he spoke to a guidance counselor, I think in his high school, and they told him, hey, listen, put that shit away. What you need to do this summer, get a job at the factory, say make some money, and then when you're out of high school, you gotta get yourself a full-time job, which is something that, again, you know, in high school, guidance counselor, you hear some shit like that. It's kind of like, wow, really? Like, you're supposed to motivate me, right? If you're a guidance counselor, right, you're supposed to motivate whoever you're talking to, right? You're supposed to, you know, inspire them to do better, what have you. But to say that is like, damn, you know what I mean? But he goes on to California in chase of this bodybuilder's dream, right? And he goes, and for whatever reason, you know, yes, he was competing in these competitions. He was winning these local, but he wasn't really making that much money. And so he realized that, hey, if you really want to make good money or so, get into pro wrestling. And I guess at this Gold's Gym, he met Sting. I guess there was like four guys that were into the pro wrestling thing. And I guess Jerry Jarrett saw a photo and chose Sting and the Ultimate Warrior, the Blade Runners. At first, they were baby faces, but they were just terrible. They really weren't connecting until they became heels. Even when they were heels, it just really wasn't like, oh my God, something crazy or anything like, oh, you know what I mean? So that was short-lived. Warrior went on to WCCW. He became the Dingo Warrior. And I told you the story about the Dingo Warrior and how that became a thing, right? How, I guess it was named after a dog. And it got over. Say what you want, but that got over in WCCW. And then he went on to the WWF. And the rest is history. They talked about him winning the Intercontinental title in like 30 seconds from Honky Tonk Man. At the time, Honky Tonk Man was champion for a year. They even interviewed Jimmy Hart, who at the time was the manager of the Honky Tonk Man. And they say, hey, once you win the Intercontinental title, it's the skyrocket. It's basically the rocket ship to your future in WWE, right? And as Intercontinental champion, he went on to face Andre the Giant, and how he, just like Hogan, he slammed the Giant, he beat the Giant. It's like, okay, from there, where do you go? Hulk Hogan. At the time, Hulk Hogan was the biggest box office in pro wrestling, especially for WWE. So you knew, hey, at WrestleMania, they're going to do Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. And everything leading up to that. And everything leading up to Warrior finally having his moment. They even interviewed his mom. Put it that way, too. They interviewed the mother of the Ultimate Warrior in this documentary. I didn't say that earlier, but if you're the mom, can you imagine, like, yo, putting your child to rest? Like, no parent should go through that. No parent. So the idea was, hey, he was the WWE champion, right? He is going to take this company to the next generation, what have you. He was the next big thing, right? That was the idea. The idea was that Hogan passed the torch to Warrior. And it didn't look that way. And you can make the argument, all the people that he faced and the build-up and his booking, it is what it is. And that run did not even last a year, because the Royal Rumble 91, he lost the title to Sergeant Slaughter just so they could put the belt back on Hulk Hogan. And at that time period, they talked about how he was going through a divorce. He was going through stuff in his life, right? Obviously, there was a letter that was mentioned where he talked about how he wanted more money. He wanted to be compensated just as Hulk Hogan. And Vince, who they said that, yo, him and Vince were like, you know, there was that bond, right? Like a father and son bond. And at the end of the day, you hear this from all these wrestlers, right? At one time, oh, me and Vince, we were tight. I viewed Vince like a father figure. And so Vince wrote a letter back saying that, hey, you know, Hulk Hogan is a living legend. You are a living legend in your own mind. Something like that. And which, yeah, it's fucked up to hear, but he talked about how Hulk Hogan is, yes, he's known worldwide. He's requested from all these press, all that stuff. Hence why they do pay him the amount that they do pay him and not what they pay Warrior. And after that, he got suspended by WWE. They talked about how SummerSlam 91, he basically held up Vince McMahon for money. And now they were planning that being Hogan and Slaughter, because remember that tag team match, the match made in hell, right? I think that was the 3-on-2 match, I think it was. I could be wrong on that. Or the tag team match, right? It was Hogan and Warrior versus Sergeant Slaughter, and I think it was Iron Sheik. I think it was Iron Sheik or Colonel Mustafa, something like that, right? And they talk about how they're gonna break, they're gonna break Warrior's leg. Hogan told Sheik to break Warrior's legs, and Miz like, no, I don't need another lawsuit, pal. Not another lawsuit. But like I mentioned, they talked about how, Vince and Warrior were tight. Shane McMahon talked about how Warrior would come over to the house and eat dinner and all that stuff. So yeah, you could believe it, and all that stuff. And then they talk about the spot where Warrior grabbed the chair and chased off. I think it was Adnan and Mustafa. And just when he got there, they told him Vince wanted to see them, and then he got basically terminated until he eventually came back. In 92, because at the time, the whole, Vince being sued by the federal government, and Hogan was going to go away, right? So they brought back Warrior, I guess, to be the guy again. And you notice Warrior was small. They talked about this before. Yeah, Warrior came back in 92 small. He was still toned up, but the physique wasn't really there like it was back in the day. And that was also short-lived because he got suspended for using steroids. And then in 93, talk about how he wanted to be the Warrior, how he went from being Jim Hellwig, right, to Warrior. Because I guess he wanted to, just use the name worldwide, what have you. But again, Vince McMahon owned the rights to the name Ultimate Warrior. And then he just legally changed his name to Warrior. So there's that too. They talked about Warrior University, which was like this wrestling school. That's where he met Dana, I guess, and all that stuff. And the rest is basically history, how he came back in 96. Because, again, he wanted to take this brand to a different level, so he had to go back to WWE. Vince called him back. And they talked about how his father died, and how Vince talked about how, well, yeah, but him and his father haven't spoken in 10 years, so he wouldn't care, but that's not really a good excuse. Even that, listen, I know there's people out there who don't speak to their fathers, what have you, okay? For whatever reason, things happen. It is what it is. But when someone dies, bro, come on. You just can't say that's an excuse. No. Still your parent, no matter what. But they also did acknowledge the fact that, yeah, Warrior was a POS. Warrior wasn't a saint by no stretch of the imagination here, okay? And they had to acknowledge all this shit. They just couldn't ignore it. The conference that he did, or the little, speech that he gave, I guess, at University of Connecticut many years ago, where he went off on this rant about, homophobia and all that stuff. And people just tore him up that day. They were just cursing him out and shit. They had to acknowledge that. Here's the thing. If it was WWE, they would ignore all this other shit and just talked about the Ultimate Warrior, the wrestler itself, his upbringings, right? And of course, they even mentioned in the documentary the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I was a kid, okay, this had to be my freshman year of high school when this DVD came out. At the time, I would go with my father. We would chill every single weekend. Again, I come from a divorced household, okay? So on weekends, my father would hang out with me, or I would hang out with my father on the weekends at this time. And we would always go to the mall, right? So I would go into FYE. At the time, that was a store. And at the time, I don't know if many of you remember this, but in FYE, there would be these little stations where you would put on the headphones, right? You would put on the headphones like this, right? Say you want to grab a DVD, right? Whatever the fuck it is, right? Say this is a DVD or an album, right? And you scan the album and you can hear a preview of whatever songs are in this album, or if it's a DVD, a trailer. And I would do this with every single CD, every album, if you will, every DVD and all that stuff. And ironically, at the time, there was previews on television of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. And I bought it. I owned a copy at one time of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. I know, looking back on it now, yeah, not really a good decision, but come on. I was 14 or 15? Come on, if you will. So I remember watching that. At the time, it never really hit me that it was a hit piece on the Warrior. It was just them shitting on him at the time until obviously I got older and I watched it and I kind of rewatched it again. It's like, yeah, this is not good, what have you. So they had to acknowledge that too. And they talked about how, yes, throughout this whole time, right, he was going through all these troubles, all these problems, right? But his family, right, his 2 daughters, right, whose name I just really forgot. I know one of them is Indiana. The other one, I think the other one name is Matigan. The other name of the daughters, right? I know one of them is in ballet. The other one is like doing kickboxing or boxing. They showed videos of the daughters in there, like, you know, doing ballet, and the other girl hitting the mitts, throwing punches, kicks, elbows, what have you. It looked like one of them wanted to get into the wrestling business. Dana Warrior also spoke in his documentary too, how they met at the gym, how his daughters basically, you know, helped them become a better person, all that stuff. Yes, they even acknowledged the fact that Warrior was a conservative. He was all this stuff, right? At the end of the day, wherever you feel about the guy, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and give a long conversation of what you should believe in and what you should not believe in. At the end of that's on you. At the end of the fucking day. But they had to acknowledge all this stuff, like I mentioned earlier. They talked about his Hall of Fame induction in 2014, how he made up with Vince, he made up with Hogan for all the lost time, all the stuff that was said, and it was cool to see. That was cool. Even at that time, like, yo, that was crazy to think in 2014 that, yo, Warrior's going to the Hall of Fame. And then on Raw that following Monday, he shows up. The music plays. The building in New Orleans went insane. He hit the ropes, right? Warrior fashion. He put the mask on. He started speaking in the Warrior tone and all that stuff. And then the next day he died, which again was in some way, I guess, closure because he made up with everyone. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's crazy to think also that the mother acknowledged that a lot of the Hellwig boys, right, like the male portion of the family, they die young. So that's another thing too. It's like, damn, that was crazy when, you know, he passed away. I knew a lot of people that went to WrestleMania weekend in 2014, and when they landed back home, they found out the news. Can you imagine, like, yo, being that person, right? Going to WrestleMania weekend, you're going to see Warrior get inducted into the Hall of Fame, right? And you come back home. You're going back home. You had an amazing weekend, right? You enjoyed yourself in New Orleans, right? You had a couple of drinks or more on Bourbon Street, right? Had a fun time. Arguably a good city to host WrestleMania. And you're going back home. You're on the plane. You're exhausted. You're sleeping on the plane. And in the air, you know, you don't know what's going on. But when you land, you find out the news that Warrior passed away. That was crazy. And that was basically the documentary. And again, I know people are going to be like, oh, that's the WWE side. Now let's see the dark side of the ring side. And I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be said on dark side of the ring. It's funny because Dana Warrior apparently blasted the producers of Dark Side of the Ring, calling what they're going to be bringing out smut and filth. So she basically, I guess in a comment on Instagram, said that she had no part in the project. Smut and filth does not rise my note. But like I mentioned before, again, in Dark Side of the Ring, they do interview Warrior's first wife who divorced him, I guess, in 1991. So that's worth, I guess, listening or watching this Thursday. I will likely do a review on it. Or if not, I might talk about it on Friday's show. But I just want to get this out of the way, get this out there, something for you guys. Yes, it is Monday. I hope all of you are having a wonderful week. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It's been a minute since I've used OBS, so it feels good to use this again. Usually now I use StreamYard, but there is a way to use OBS and StreamYard, which I do plan on doing. So there's that too. So yeah. That's all I really want to say here. I have work in like 55 minutes or so that's nice. Anyway, guys, follow me on Twitter at HeelSteven. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell icon so you're notified whenever I upload a video and all that fun stuff. Friday, we are going live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. SP3 joins us. We'll be predicting, previewing AEW Double or Nothing. AEW is going to have a full capacity this coming Sunday. I can't wait for that. We're going to be reviewing the show after that Sunday. So all that fun stuff. So that being said, guys, happy Monday, happy week, and I'll see you guys down the road. Peace out, y'all.